1 year ago, then multimedia editor Adam Regalado set out to transform the Prospector Podcast into the Prospector Digest to provide a different medium to tell stories through UTEP student media and publications. That idea has made its return to the Prospector, as we are happier than ever to bring back the Digest. I'm Sebastian Perez-Navarro, and today we're talking about UTEP's Fast Track program, how important money games are, capital-wise and impact-wise. And finally, we speak to Associate Athletic Director Jon Washington of Fan Engagement and Digital Strategy over what UTEP is doing to get students to claim their free tickets and expanding their marketing strategy. You're watching the Prospector Digest, a different form of the Prospector Podcast. Don't go anywhere, segment 1 on the way. Thank you so much for joining us on the Prospector Digest. We're changing up the format of the Prospector Podcast just a little bit, and there's no better way we can start off this new format than by talking about something happening at UTEP regarding education in classes you can take. Joining me is Mia Colmenero, the current layout editor at the Prospector, who, by definition, credit-wise, is a junior, but it's barely your first year at a university.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for joining, Mia. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Mia, you recently got to write a story about UTEP Fast Track. For those who don't know what Fast Track is, it is essentially a program in which, like high school, you can earn credits for 2 divisions of education. Specifically, in this one, you can earn credits for undergraduate hours and graduate hours. Here are some parameters, though. You need to be a senior in order to start the program, meaning you need to have 90 undergraduate credit hours. And with the Fast Track program, you can get up to 15 credit hours. One of the biggest things, though, is that there seems to be a lack of diversity in the Fast Track programs that are available at UTEP. You recently were able to speak to the Dean of Graduate Schools at UTEP. What did they tell you?
So, yes, I did get the opportunity to speak with Dr. Stefan Kreitz. He is the Dean of Graduate School. He is also a psychology professor. What I was mostly wanting him to answer was, why isn't there programs for communication? For the most part, he gave me a quick summary of how to get a program into Fast Track. And that's basically saying you just need to advocate that you want a Fast Track. So if a student goes up to him and say, hey, I want this to happen in Fast Track, he can go to his meetings that he has with Fast Track and he will present it and he'll get all of the staff on board. And basically with that, it would take a process because usually with credits and stuff, it's going to be a little difficult. But for most part, you just have to advocate for yourself to get a Fast Track program. Currently, communications hasn't had one, and there's been a lot of students, including our EIC, Evelyn Palma, wanting to do the Fast Track program, but in that case, we can't because communications doesn't have one.
One of the reasons of why you're already declared a junior, despite being a freshman, is because you did a program like this back in high school, earning college credits while you were still a high school student. Essentially, we can get that same mentality when understanding the Fast Track program. Having gone through already an similar experience like that, is it worth it?
I would say it is worth it for the cost of it. You know, when you do early college, it's free college in high school. You're getting a head start. You're going to pay less money when you actually go into university. I feel like there is a lot of cons. I am struggling with one of the biggest cons that many of the early college circle has, which is jumping into advanced courses when you're not prepared, especially when it's hands-on. When you're in early college, you only do online classes. And depending on the material, sometimes you can go to where I went, which is El Paso Community College. It's a real struggle just to get the gist of it, I would say. For the most part, I do not regret it at all for the fact that I can navigate through Blackboard, which is the app we use to do our classes and our courses with. But yeah, no regrets there. It's just a little hard that you're getting thrown into the wolves for the most part.
Based on your conversation with the Dean of Graduate Schools at UTEP, what is that student balance looking like for those who decide to join the fast track program?
Basically, they're just going to put it in your regular undergraduate schedule. It's going to be a little harder, of course, since there's advanced courses for the most part. For a lot of students have struggled because you need to keep your GPA at a certain point, which is a 3.5. At that point, some students don't qualify for it because 3.5 GPA usually fluctuates, and it's hard to keep that same GPA. But it's a pretty simple process in your schedule. There's nothing to except for an advanced class with a lot of master's students in there.
The history of fast track is an interesting one within the United States. The program originally emerged after World War II and then the 1970s. The whole reason for its existence is because the country wanted more doctors. UTEP adopted a fast track program in May of 2013. Now it's existed for almost a decade. Mia, what's changed based on the conversation you had with the dean?
Most of the part, it stayed the same. I think what's changed is the growth of majors getting a fast track program. There's been a lot of growth, and Stefan Kreitz has told me that he wants to see it continue growing with majors. As of right now, their program is not set to have a major change with the curriculum.
Based on what this program offers, what gets students interested in joining, and are they seeing an uptick in more student participation?
What gets more students interested is the fact that you're going to get an early track on getting your master's. You know, I had a conversation with him saying, why does students want to join their master program instead of going to the job market? For the most part, he said that their jobs require a lot more experience and the master's degree. Also, same thing with cost. You know, you can lower the amount of money you have to do for your graduate while paying for your undergraduate. So with the Pell Grants, you only can qualify for a Pell Grant when you're undergraduate. When you're in the fast track, that Pell Grant can go for your graduate degree. So it's a lot of benefits there.
Mia, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it at the Prospector Digest. You want to check out our work? Then pick up the football issue that released in September. The cover was designed by Mia. We'll be back on the Prospector Digest, and we'll be talking about some money games and what UTEP does with the money they earn from playing Power 4 schools like UT Austin. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Prospector Digest. Prospector Digest, happy to be with you. Joining me on the Digest is contributor Erick Olguin and freshman who, just in his first year at UTEP, has already joined the Prospector. Erick, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, first of all, congratulations. Your first year, and you're already part of student media and publications at this university. How have you felt that adjustment been like since you joined just 2 weeks ago to now?
It has been a crazy adjustment. I'm used to the student media and publications world. I'm not really new to it, but it is a crazy adjustment to go from a semi-professional aspect in a high school environment compared to a university environment where all the emails are very professional, very formal. Reaching out to different organizations and different the leaders of the organizations and everything has been a big change for me, you know. I'm used to just being able to go up to a classroom and being, hey, can I interview for this? Can I take this student? Can I just talk to him real quick? And then the stories, there's a little bit more freedom with what you write. And it has been a big adjustment because I'm used to very strict curriculum, you know. And here I have a little bit more creative freedom, a little bit more personality in the writing. And it's great. I like the whole move, you know, and you know you get to do something cool like this because in the high school world of student publications, you don't really have a podcast like this, and it is a great thing to be able to experience this.
We instantly clicked on one similar characteristic or thing that we like. Sports. You wanted to talk about it on a podcast platform. I'm glad that's finally coming into fruition. We're on the topic of money games.
Yeah.
UTEP recently made the rounds, and there's an article on this, on UT taking on UTEP. Surprised a lot of people on a nationwide scope. But at the end of the day, it's a game that UT paid UTEP $1.63 million to play. What's the appeal of these money games, Erick?
So the money goes into facilities. It goes into covering costs for the travel. It goes into covering costs for salaries too. A big change that they have done with this money in the recent years, they just renovated the football locker rooms. It goes into funding some scholarships and bringing in players like Malachi Nelson, who, you know, is a big transfer and it makes a big difference for our team.
So playing in these money games, it's not just all about the money, frankly, because these give players from a group of 5 conference a chance to play against Power 4 opponents and get national recognition, such as being nationally televised on ESPN.
Yes. Okay. So something amazing with this is that people mainly watch college sports for the big powerhouse schools. The smaller conferences, they get attention, but it's no surprise that they get smaller attention than the big powerhouse schools. And when our conference gets the chance to go onto ESPN, one of the biggest platforms for college football, it makes our players shine, and it gives players like Xavier Smith, who got an interception against Arch Manning, a great highlights apart from a chance to shine in the big screens.
You hit on NIL and facilities and how they're being revamped at UTEP. To get our facts straight, $1.65 million were paid out to the university from Nebraska for paying them last season. $1.6 paid by Tennessee to play UTEP. We spoke about the numbers in regards to UT. One of the biggest headlines that's not Malachi Nelson surrounding UTEP athletics is that UTEP is making the move to the Mountain West. So how important is this money when considering that not only do they have to pay exit fees for CUSA, but then they have to change their travel schedule and get ready to play in a league that's considered one of the upper echelon leagues of G5 football?
It is greatly important because, you know, costs for all their travels and, you know, preparing for these bigger schools, well, not bigger schools, but a different conference, it will be a big move for them, and just having that extra money with them will help them adjust with mainly the cost of travels. It's a lot of the difference that will happen.
Erick, my final question to you would be, what impact do you think UTEP left in their game against UT from what the performance they were able to put on?
It was a great performance defensively. They did a lot of stops. People thought it was going to be a blowout win for Texas, and surprisingly, UTEP's defense was able to shine out there. And, you know, quarterback Arch Manning was having some trouble with our defensive backs. This shows other schools, especially the schools up and coming in our remaining schedule, that they are not as small of a threat as they think that UTEP is. UTEP can perform really well defensively. They made some great stops, and it'll be a tough challenge, especially for this upcoming game.
Erick, thank you so much for joining the Digest. We appreciate it. Our final segment is coming up next, so we get to talk to the Associate Athletic Director of Fan Engagement and Digital Strategy, Mr. Jon Washington, about student tickets and UTEP Athletics marketing strategy in general. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Prospector Digest. Welcome back to the Prospector Digest. Thank you for joining us on our first episode of this new venture, or better said, a return to form. A very special guest joining me today. It's the person who gave me an opportunity at Minor Vision, that being Mr. Jon Washington. Mr. Washington, thank you so much for taking the time and joining the Prospector Digest.
Oh, thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it.
So before we get into anything, I think the biggest thing that's pressing on everybody's minds is, what are we supposed to think over UTEP and UT's big game that they recently had?
I think a lot of us were very encouraged by their performance. Our defense played really, really well. Hopefully they can just continue that momentum. I know it was a loss, but I think our team played about as good as you can against a power opponent like that. So really looking forward to this weekend, and hopefully they can bounce back with a win.
And that analysis means a lot when we think about your days at football back at the University of New Mexico, and also graduated from that university in 2011. At least that's according to memory. The website may something a little bit different. Maybe we got a hit piece there by chance. But you graduated in business administration, and you came to the University of Texas at El Paso, currently the Associate Athletic Director for Fan Engagement and Digital Strategy. One of those strategies is free student tickets. Different universities have a different scale on how they charge students. Some, it's a full ticket price. Others is discounted. But UTEP is free. So the first thing to discuss is, why does UTEP, an NCAA Division I institution, not charge students for athletic events? And this is all across the board, from sports like rifle all the way to football.
Well, I mean, I think we really want our students to be a part of everything that we're doing. So we don't want to have that kind of barrier in front of them. So free tickets, like you were kind of saying, is a lot of schools and universities do it that way. There are some that charge, but we want to make sure that our events are as accessible as possible for our students.
Julo Campo recently released an article on the Prospector. The article is Free Student Tickets, but Few Takers. She went ahead and interviewed Michael Levi, who's the athletic director for Revenue Generation. He told us that if students are aware, do they know where to get their tickets? I feel like that aspect is something that we're really struggling with. What is the attitude surrounding raising awareness and attention for students to claim their free student tickets?
I think it's always a struggle. I think the big thing with students is you got to meet them where they're at. So, sometimes it's hard to figure out, okay, what is the best medium to get that message out to our student population? Is it through social media? Is it through emails? Is it through putting up banners across campus? I think you kind of got to do a mix of all of them. But again, I may assume something about our student population that may be incorrect. So going to the source, making sure we're talking to different students and student groups is always a good way to kind of see where the students are at and what's the best way to reach them. But even within the students, right, there's segments. So I may go talk to one group and there may be a strategy to get to them, but there may be a whole nother group of students that's not the best way to get to. So I think it's always an evolving thing. It's something that we have to continue to strive to get our student population informed on things. But it's definitely something that we're trying to do as best as possible.
From when you graduated from the University of New Mexico up until now, how has advertising and getting students' attention changed over the years?
It's changed a lot. I mean, when I first graduated, social media was kind of at its beginning. So Twitter wasn't even really a thing yet. There's still kind of MySpace and things like that. So kind of during my career, it's really progressed a lot, and that's become the main source in a lot of our advertising. Is digital and social media. So there's the digital aspect, and then there's the social media aspect. So those things have really grown. That's become really the best way possible. When I first started, we did a lot of stuff with newspapers and things like that. And that's not the best way to reach everybody anymore. They have their uses, and there's definitely some people that you can reach that way, but you're not going to get a lot of the masses, especially the younger people, right? So it's definitely changed a lot, and it continues to evolve. And so we have to stay on top of the best way to communicate with our fan base and our students.
UTEP Athletics has a huge presence on social media, not only when it comes to their individual account pages, but also when it comes to Minor Vision. How do those two parts of UTEP mesh together in order to garner attention from students and advertise free student tickets?
Well, our strategy is really we all work together, right? So I oversee both the marketing side and the My Division side. And really, we all consider ourselves one. We're all the external unit. So basically, our strategy is to think about things all the way well-rounded and make sure that we're hitting as many aspects of it as we can. So we want to make sure, like, hey, if I'm going to do a certain promotion for a football game or a basketball game, our Minor Vision team is going to create a video that coincides with that promotion. And then we're going to have merchandise that coincides with that promotion. I'm wearing a Sun City jacket today, right? So that's a good example of it's all aspects. It's video, it's merchandise, it's the game day, making sure that everything is cohesive together and so that you're hitting different aspects of that.
So from what I understand, you're essentially the middleman when it comes to minor vision and marketing, correct?
You could say that, yeah.
So from that aspect, what's it like having to handle marketing interns, having to handle interns at minor vision, and freelancers who want to come and help out UTEP athletics?
I mean, it's something I've done my whole career. I'm multifaceted, so I can be a photographer, or I can be a marketing person, or I can do video, right? So I enjoy being able to have different aspects of my position and my job. One day I may be a photographer, the next day I may be doing a marketing plan or doing a script. The next day I may be helping to produce an ESPN Plus game. So I enjoy being able to do different things and get to know different things. It can be a lot sometimes, but it is something I enjoy. I wouldn't be in this position still if I didn't really like it.
Well, for the spring semester, you were essentially the interim athletic director for minor vision broadcast.
Pretty much.
So a man of many talents, to say the least. You mentioned the merch, how Sun City merch, the different jerseys that UTEP comes out with. How important is that branding to capturing student attention and trying to raise student ticket numbers? As Joel Capo reported, last year 7,000 students showed up to athletic events. How important is the merch and the image that UTEP gives off through what they're wearing to capture student attention and to form a tighter feeling of community?
I think it's a really big aspect because, again, it ties into the overall theme and promotion of what we're doing. So if we're doing a 915 game or a Sun City game, we want to make sure that we have different merch and different lines so that people can buy that. One of the things that we hear a lot is, I want to wear whatever your coaches are wearing, right? So if we don't have those kind of things available, then it really hurts us as a marketing department because we're not really hitting the need of what our fans want. So we want to make sure that we have things available. We want to make sure that anytime we're doing a promotion, a bigger promotion or things like that, that we have some kind of aspect. If the team's going to wear it, we want to make sure that the fans have it too. So when we design our jerseys, when we're doing our promotions, when we're doing merchandise, we want to be cohesive. We meet with the bookstore very often, right? So just making sure that all the different entities on campus are on the same page is a big deal for us.
Before we end off, this has been teased a little bit by conversations we've had, and I have the green to ask this on air. Mr. Washington, in regards to getting word around student tickets and growing that awareness around campus, can you tease us if changes are coming to the current system?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've heard for a long time for our students is getting tickets is a bit of a hassle and it can be difficult. And there can be technical issues and things like that. So we've really been working behind the scenes to make that process easier. Hopefully in the next week or two, we can announce the new process. That will be, I promise you, way more easier for students. We haven't quite got all the sign-offs yet, but hopefully soon everybody will see the new process and it'll just become very easy for our student population to come to games.
Mr. Washington, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, thank you.
And thank you for watching the first episode of the revamped Prospector Digest. Thank you to our crew, our directors and camera people. I'm your host, Sebastian Perez-Navarro. A new little system in which we introduce. We hope to keep carrying it on, but for now, make sure to subscribe to the Prospector YouTube channel and even follow us on Spotify. You can also find us on socials at UTEP Prospector. But from our entire crew, we're over and out.